Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel for day 1475 of our daily content grind. I had today's video all planned out. I had this great little thing in my head, I had bullet points, I had images ready to go. I really liked the topic that we were going to discuss today. And then Takara said, no, we're announcing a whole bunch of things. You talk about this now. And I go, yes, sir, Takara, yes. I will discuss your T-Spark stream, for it was glorious. They dropped a whole bunch of things, talked about a whole bunch of things. We're going to stick to just the Transformer stuff. But when even something like Ryukendo is getting love during the stream, you know they announced a lot. I'm not going to lie. There is a black and gold version of that super giant Diaclone set that I kind of want, but good lord, I can't pay that price. I can't even fathom paying that for one toy. It is just going to have to be a mighty temptation that will never be fulfilled. But we're going to talk about the Transformer stuff that I just might be able to actually afford someday without selling a kidney. So here we go. We are going to start off with Masterpiece Movie Next. So apparently it's not enough that Masterpiece is now MPG, is a way of freshening it up. But it is also necessary to turn Masterpiece Movie into Masterpiece Movie Next, which seems excessive. I don't see the real need to do that. I feel like it was doing fine, right? Like they could have just been like Masterpiece Movie series, and you don't need to tack on superfluous words. So yeah, they're starting fresh. I guess because the normal Masterpiece line got cut off, they decided to cut off the movie Masterpiece line as well. So now we have a brand new 01, and it's going to be Sideswipe, their first dip into Revenge of the Fallen. Maybe that's the next part. We've moved beyond movie 1, we are moving into movie 2 now. It's a pretty good choice, not going to lie. So a lot of the announcement stuff here was done via artwork. We don't have a whole lot of like solid visuals. A lot of it was just teasers and just proof that it's on the way. So all we really got was a wireframe shot of how this Sideswipe was going to be designed. In particular, the only things to really note about it is the fact that he doesn't look like he has fake feet, so somehow they managed to make those wheel feet work. Can't tell if he has the tubing in his hips. I have to imagine that's not going to be rubberized, because every time they try to do like those like pistons, those hydraulics in the hips joints to be accurate to the movie, every time they did that in rubber, it sucked. Like it completely robbed the toy of hip articulation, because that would just rubber band it in one direction or another. So it's hard to tell if they're doing that. I have to assume it's just like fake pistons like they have in like MP01's legs, right? Has to be that, right? The rest of it, like, so far looks fine. Like, he's got the blade arms and all that. You know, he doesn't look too kibbled from the front. If you take a look around the reverse shot, you are going to see some of the kibble. Some of it is movie accurate. You know, those big door panels hanging off the back. That is accurate from what I can remember from the movie, or at least it's acceptable kibble these days. He does also have the front end of the car folded up and crammed onto the back. There is sculpting to make it look like a robot back, but it is a lot of kibble that is going to form up on the backpack. And that is because we acknowledge these were created by Industrial Lights and Magic. You know, this was ILM just basically going nuts on the character designs, with no real rhyme or reason or concern for them being a physical object. They kind of left Takara engineers to figure that out for them later on. So I don't really expect a lot of these designs to be completely clean. I expect a lot of them to have some kind of kibble to them. Sideswipe being no exception. He's not looking too bad, though, from like just this initial teaser. We move into MPG. Where they actually did show us a physical item that we are going to be getting, and that was Soundwave, with this little teaser, complete with a record design in the background. That was the theme of their MPG announcements today. So, MPG-19 Soundwave, complete with Condor Laserbeak. It's the same toy. See, I thought MPG was supposed to be about refreshing the line and showing that, like, we're taking this next step forward, this kind of evolution in what the Masterpiece style and design emphasis was. No, we're just going to drop a 12-year-old toy in the middle of it now. I don't see how that's doing you any favors whatsoever when it comes to convincing people that MPG is somehow a step up from MP. Because, yeah, this is a very, very good toy. It's one of the better Masterpiece toys. It also suffers from a lot of age. Like, there are things there that would never make it to a modern Masterpiece toy. Like those hips. I hate the hips on this thing. Because it's those Energon-style hips that kind of hinge forward underneath the pelvis rather than in the pelvis. So, you get this weird point of motion when it comes to, like, doing leg poses with the character, and it just looks very awkward from the front as well. I hate those things. I hate those things. I will always look at those and refer to them as Energon hips, because that's exactly what Energon had to do because of its combining gimmick on a lot of them, and it just made them feel very awkward. It made a lot of the toys feel awkward and look weird. Soundwave being no exception. I really wish even that mold is still good enough to release today. And it kind of is. I at the very least would have wanted them to tool in new hips so it looks, at least it has like a modern feel to it. But it's still a good toy. If you missed out on it the first time, you know, over a decade ago, it is a very, very good toy. And hey, that laser beak with no extra part forming, those guns, those thrusters and engines, that's part of the cassette mode. It's a really good design. It's a really well made Laserbeak. I have to presume that the other cassettes will be coming as like individual packs later on. I have to assume that. Still, it's a little bit underwhelming. I really did expect more. That said, they did tease a lot more. So we had this silhouette, which might be vaguely familiar if you know your G1 box art designs. And we had this silhouette. Again, do you know your G1 box art? You will recognize this as either Eject or Rewind. I can't remember which box art this is for them. There is a difference between the two. But that is definitely Ramhorn beside him. And then you have this shot as well, which we will discuss here in a second. But yeah, they've teased that we are getting Masterpiece Blaster at long last. Now, the only way I'm okay with what they did with Soundwave is that Blaster is designed to match. That way that when you put this next to your original Soundwave or put it next to the new MPG Soundwave, it still looks the same. It looks like they came from the same school of design and thought. That way, like, it doesn't look too cartoony. It doesn't look too far removed. You can have the two rivals, you know, matched no matter what your shelf looks like. That is what I would want out of a Masterpiece Blaster. My big question is, do you think they remember they have a Steeljaw mold? Because Steeljaw is conspicuous by his absence in this display. Like, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But yeah, very overdue. Blaster is very overdue for the Masterpiece line. It looks like he's going to come with two, because I assume he's going to come with two cassettes. Because then Steeljaw and the other robot would be able to be packed in with this guy. Because that's not Blaster's silhouette. This one I do recognize. That's twin casts. So they are already promising a twin cast repaint of the upcoming Blaster, wasting absolutely no time. And yeah, I'm betting you anything that's where the other two cassettes get packed in. You will probably have to buy both in order to get his entire lineup of cassettes. They could do the super nice thing and just release the cassettes as individual 2-packs. You know, that way you didn't have to get stuck buying up, you know, a second Blaster mold that you don't want just to get a complete team. But also, that would be the way to guarantee people bought both. Otherwise, I think that twin cast is going to be lagging. Still, it is cool. Like, to go along with what is essentially just a cartoon accurate repaint of that Soundwave, we are getting a brand new blaster in MP. I'm eager to see what that looks like. We got a lot of in-hand shots of the upcoming missing Link Ultra Magnus, which is still crazy to me that it exists. So what got me curious on this one is that they were actually shown on video manipulating the toy the way you would expect it to be manipulated. So I wanted to see how this actually functions, and the answer is a little bit cautiously. So, for instance, you know, they were very careful with it because I assume this is still a prototype, and they still don't, and this is still something they have to be very gentle with. But they did show that, like, how the hips and the shoulders work. You know, it is faux, or, you know, universal joints in the shoulder. A lot of ratchet noises. A lot of this came with ratchet noises, which is really reassuring. You know, they showed how the hips splay out and the ankle tilt is on demonstration. And they also demonstrate how the legs move forward. And this looked painful for the presenter. What I have learned is that the forward leg articulation on this guy is not only going to be limited, it's going to be a little bit trepidatious. So, unfortunately, like, yeah, it's going to be limited because what else are you going to do? This toy was never designed to have hips and knees. But again, all of that came with nice, like, clicky ratchet noises, so they're going to be secure joints. So that's good to know. Went one slide a little bit too early because I thought I had another Magnus shot. But no, we also have the first look at our Evangelion crossover, which is, yeah, it is a movie-style Optimus Prime, Evasion Optimus Prime, no less, who is getting turned into a very Ava-styled robot. So, they have, this does seem to be, like, because Takara did do a large-scale, like an up-tooling of the Evasion Optimus Prime mold so they could have it be a little bit beefier, a little bit more in scale with some of the other characters, and just generally be, like, a sturdier toy, because that toy is already very, very good. So this seems to be that figure, except they have done some new tooling to it in order to make it look much more Ava, is, you know, in styling. I think I want to say that's part of the chest, but probably not. Probably just my poor memory of the mold. Those new shoulder fins are definitely Ava inspired. That's definitely new. I find it interesting that they picked a mold that already had shoulder fins like that. Like, they already had, like, the things coming up off the shoulders, and they decided, no, bigger. Supersize those shoulder fins for me. But yeah, we have a good look at the head sculpt. And yeah, like, it's Optimus Prime, but they've definitely added that Ava flair to it, which is fascinating to see. You know, and like, I guess we've seen a round of that lately. Like, Basara Prime also kind of has that same thing going on. So we've had a lot of mashup stuff. Monster Hunter did the same thing. They have a lot of mashup Optimus Prime heads going around lately. But this one has an added trick. You can swap around the lower part of it to actually have an Ava-style mouth. If you want an Optimus Prime that gives you nightmares, this is your Optimus Prime, because it looks like he's about to eat your dreams. It's kind of cool they threw that in just to kind of push the Ava bit a little bit farther. And it does set him apart a lot better from, like, your movie Optimus Primes. Obviously, this is going to be in Ava purple and green. So, like, obviously he's going to set differently. But I do like the added effort there to just give you that little bit of extra detail. Like, that's kind of neat. I'm not an Evangelion fan. It's just never hit me the right way, just never caught my interest the way it's supposed to. I am not going to be partaking in the figure, but I can admire it from afar. I will admire a toy that is done well, even if I acknowledge it is not a toy for me. So in this case, I'm, like, super curious how, like, the fans are going to respond to this when they get it in hand. They also showed this in the core that was sculpted in. It kind of looks Matrixy, but also is the wrong shape. I don't know if this is something Evangelion related, but for the Ava fans out there, I thought I'd point it out, just in case. We did get a look at accessories, though. He does come with an axe, the arm cannon that is, again, very movie-esque. The two blades that are also movie-esque, and then a G1 matrix. Movie axe, movie gun, movie swords, G1 matrix. I like that even Takara's engineers acknowledge that the movie matrix of leadership kind of sucks. So just like, here's a normal one, enjoy. Still, it's fun. It's fun. I don't know if this, like, I don't know that mold. I never had, like, that legendary Optimus Prime that was the, like, upscale. I never had that mold, so I don't know how close this is. I don't know how that mold felt. But knowing from Evasion, it's an exceptionally well-engineered design. So I will give it credit. I do think it's going to be well made that way. Then we had the big thing. At least for me, the big thing, which is announcing something completely new that we had not heard anything about before. Transformers Overgear. Okay, what's Overgear? Okay, so hang on. So I did one of those quickie Google translation things, so I can get like at least some idea of what this is supposed to be. So let me get this right. It reads, a new series that pursues the realistic mecha design of Transformers is being developed, pursuing a new design from the perspective of a fighting weapon. So it feels like it's going to be along the lines of a Transformer toy line that kind of embraces the mecha side of it. So I'm expecting him to be like a more realistic style of mech when it comes to like the overall design process and exactly like how they imagine parts and engineering on the figure. It feels like it's going to be settled in like a more realistic tone. And it sounds like it's going to be more like militaristic almost, because it's emphasizing the fact that these are giant robotic weapons. So it's a completely different mindset, and that's kind of interesting to go with. I've kind of speculated that that would be an interesting take on Transformers in the past, where like the ideology is different and that leads to different forms. And this kind of goes in with that adventurous spirit in Transformers I don't think we get enough of anymore. But we did get a silhouette. We did get a silhouette showing us what the first two toys are generally going to look like. And this is immediately bizarre. So on the right, we have a very like strong arm looking character who obviously is using like the front end of a truck as like their shoulder guards, shoulder armor. You can see even like rear view mirrors hanging off of the shoulders. I'm not seeing a whole lot of bulk to it beyond that. There's part of me that would almost imagine this to be some kind of Jeep, which if they're going with a more like pushing realism, pushing the weaponry aspect of the Transformers, then yeah, I could imagine this as being some weird like Optimus Prime as a Jeep type thing, because it's just like it's like a go-to military vehicle. It's the one beside him that's confusing, right? Because that silhouette gives you nothing. Like he's a helicopter, so again, this kind of pushes the idea of realistic vehicles that would be these kind of like mechs, the way Japan thinks of mechs, in a Gundam sense of these are military machines and weapons of war. So to base them off of actual military vehicles would make sense. So is that like how Megatron looks, or do I have this backwards and like Optimus Prime is the helicopter? I don't know. He's got Blackout style cape of helicopter rotors. Like that's not Blackout though. He's got these like what I assume is either a wing pack or giant pauldrons on his shoulders that seem to be the helicopter's tail. He's doing something very different with however he is engineered. But yeah, like it's a super weird silhouette. Like I'm almost getting like if Beast Wars Silverbolt had a vehicle mode. if he was like on modern day Earth and took an Earth mode, like that. I'm almost getting like that kind of like character silhouette from him, just because those big things over his shoulders kind of remind me of like his shoulder wings and how they sat on his original toy, and like that's the only thing I can glean from this. No, I don't think they're good, but it's got to be an Optimus and Megatron. They're not going to pull something like a Beast Wars character, just for the sake of like whatever this is, right? So I don't think it's that, but I literally have no idea what to make of this. This is fascinating to me, and this is like easily the most exciting part of this entire presentation, because it seems to be Transformers under a completely different mindset. And that's the kind of thing we haven't had in forever. So I'm really, really interested in exactly what this is and what else we get from it. Hopefully it's not too long before we find out. Like, these silhouettes are, presumably, from the look of it, these silhouettes are of designs that are already done. So it shouldn't be that long before we find out exactly what they're going to look like. At least I hope not. So yeah, that was Takara's presentation. It's fascinating to me how all over the place it was, right? So like we've got crossovers, we've got, a 10-plus-year-old toy on the way back, we got promise of long overdue figures, and then just weird stuff. Just weird stuff is in there too. It's a fascinating presentation. So let me know in the comments, which one are you looking forward to? And speculate. By all means, like speculate on what Overgear is. Because that, to me, is like the best place that we can actually have some discussion right now. So, that is it for me. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.